Much like I talked about in my Metroid Prime Remastered review, I have a lot of distinct memories about a handful of GameCube games, and I didn't even own a GameCube. Luigi's Mansion, a launch title for the system, was the coolest game to have come out, and I still to this day only got to play it a handful of times. Luigi's my favorite character from the Mario franchise, my first pick every time in Mario Kart and Mario Party when playing with friends. It was awesome to see him get his own game, and now successful franchise of games that were vastly different from his red tinted brother. Now, 23 years later, Nintendo has made moves to give another beloved character their own title and time in the sun. If you would have told me even a decade ago that I would have played all the way through a Princess Peach game, enjoyed it, and being reviewing it on the internet at 30 years old, I would have told you that the first 2/3 of that sounds like a different person while clutching hard to my copies of Call of Duty and Halo. And it's about damn time for the last third. Going in, I wasn't expecting a whole lot. Maybe some fun little Mario references, some very pink gameplay, obvious tropes for little girls, but boy was I wrong on a lot of it, and not so wrong on much more. Princess Peach Showtime is honestly magic, and that has less to do with the magical girl anime trope that was sprinkled all the way through the game, and more to do with the fact that I couldn't put it down. With Peach in her own title, could Nintendo be on track to make more fans' dreams come true with the future standalone games for beloved characters? Or are they grasping at straws and running on nostalgia and fandom to fuel their pockets for a little while longer on the 7-plus-year-old Switch console? Let's go backstage and get ready for our solo in Princess Peach Showtime's loop. The gameplay of Princess Peach Showtime is a combination of nothing to write home about mechanics and, honestly, one of the best representations of multiple game styles in a single game that we've seen yet. Outside of party games and other compilations that Nintendo is famous for releasing. The overall gameplay has a little something for everyone that might introduce the target audience to their new favorite media tropes, game styles, and just fun. It reminds me a lot of some of the games from my own childhood. Point-and-click adventures like Pajama Sam, beat-em-ups, of which there are too many to name here, the hours spent playing Nickelodeon's SpongeBob Krabby Patty Kitchen game on the internet in the early 2000s, and one of my favorite games of all time, Sly Cooper. There's a lot of variation in the level designs and different tasks and game styles represented, and even more, just really well-distilled design and film and TV tropes all baked in here for something I expected to be a flash in the pan, or a very specifically marketed pile of garbage. Nintendo doesn't really have the best track record of games for girls. Nintendogs is the one that comes to mind, and all the shovelware and garbage that came after it trying to cash in on its success. Mario is for everyone. Pokemon is for everyone. But you can see the very obvious ways that those games are more marketed towards boys than girls, or at least used to be in my youth. I would argue that they licensed and published a really fun game for everyone with a pink princess on the front cover that wasn't meant to be a pointed-at joke the entire time. Looking at you, Sony. I would argue what many people are probably ignoring, though, and my words were very carefully chosen for that reason. Nintendo published and licensed the character here, but they didn't internally develop this game. Goodfeel made this happen, and with their track record, it's no surprise that they did such a phenomenal job. All of the out-there Nintendo property games, Kirby's Epic Yarn, Yoshi's Woolly World, and even a Wario game, were all made by this studio previously, and the gameplay that they built into this game is just as solid as some of the better titles under their belt. The game breaks down into 10 different sets for stage shows that all have a different theme and all see Peach take on the lead role. Each of these stage shows has a different feel and different mechanics to guide the player to the end goal. There are 2 main stages for each show and a third one to cap off the story for each play, located in a special area of the Sparkle Theater. A couple of my favorite stages were the Dashing Thief stage, the Ninja stage, and the Figure Skater stage. There are also Detective, Space Hero, complete with laser swords, Mermaid, Kung Fu, Baker, Cowgirl, and sword fighting stages that all take tropes and bits from real shows and ideas in those subgenres and have Peach working through them. Each of the stages has its own style and gameplay mechanics as well. From the minigame style of the Baker, I'm gonna keep calling it that because my high school French teacher would fucking kill me if she heard me try to pronounce pâtissière too many times in this video, to the Aquaman Little Mermaid hybrid of the Mermaid Show, and the straight out of anime Ninja and Space Hero beat-em-up levels that feel distinct from each other while being built in the same style overall. Each of them is fun and has its unique charm, except the detective levels. I didn't really enjoy the system that they used for it, but the actual detective level gameplay was fun enough to get me through it. On top of all of that are the boss fights. 5 fights in total that see Peach on her own against Grape and the Sour Bunch. minions of her power, as well as theater equipment used to fight against Peach. Each of them has their own special abilities that give Peach a fun chance at combat without the specialty of the magic from each stage. All in, the fights here and the puzzles throughout the game are fun and really tight for the most part. But taking on 12 different styles of game, including Peach on her own and the final boss encounter, is a wild feat that was pulled off incredibly well. There aren't many distinct things as far as the world goes to talk about in Princess Peach Showtime, but each of the ones that are here deserve their time in the spotlight. Starting off with the main venue of the whole game, Sparkle Theater, the stage play equivalent of a megaplex movie theater with 20 stages all showing different plays and their sequels in a grand, luxurious decor. The building itself is 5 floors with 4 stages on each one, and a basement that we'll talk about in a minute. Each stage houses one play, and each play has its own course with no duplicates. Each floor also houses a boss door that leads to its subsequent boss encounter that has the feel of being backstage or behind the scenes of a stage when fighting the bosses. The last floor, the basement, houses 10 additional stages that all seem to be warped and broken by Grape's magic and act as prison cells or green rooms for the lead actors of each show, the Sparklers. As you progress through a show and its sequel, a Sparkler cell will open in the basement and let you complete the trilogy for each show. There are also vendors on the first floor that sell cosmetic outfits for both Peach and Stella based on your progression through the game. That's the vast majority of the world explained. Each one of the ensembles leads into the individual worlds of their own, and each one is unique enough to say that they need to be experienced firsthand. That's not to say that there aren't world-building elements that stood out to me. Many of the objects and even some of the moving pieces in each stage are crafted how a stage should be, or would be. Breakaway objects, elevators in the floor, and probably my favorite part, practical effects. The horse, for example, in the Cowgirl levels was the first thing to really catch me. It's a marionette danced across the stage on wires. The ships in the Mighty Peach levels are also shown to be done practically with wires, and it was really just a fun touch that I don't think needed to be added, but really immersed me in the idea of all of this being a stage show. The characters of Showtime all have their very specific unique ideas and styling that really brought the entire thing together. From Peach herself and using her adaptable nature to jump into any role on any stage and help those in need, even adopting some of the lingo for each character in voice-acted clips, to Stella, the sparkle star fairy thing that uses their magic to empower Peach and other actors throughout the show to get past obstacles and put on a stronger performance. The Sparklers, the star actors of each show, also have their own feel and personality for each iteration, though a handful of them blend together with their style and look compared to when Peach is in the costume. Grape, the villain of this show, is a purple magic witch that aims to take over the theater and put on a dastardly show of their own. Along with their team of henchmen and bosses, the Sour Bunch, there are just as many variations of them as there are shows in the theater, and the bosses all have their own unique encounter, which in some cases, or at least for my withered old brain, took some thought to complete and correctly interact with. The characters themselves are blank in many ways in this game, most of them being totally new, but also allowing them to be adaptive to the unique mini stories that each show is trying to tell, to make the whole picture and final boss encounter really shine. Look, I'll be honest, the story of Showtime isn't exactly the greatest work of fiction, but I don't think it really needed to be. It takes parts and references for so many works that would make great stage shows if they aren't stage shows already, and add in the practical effects and the look and feel of a stage show, and you have a game that really shows that gameplay can trump story and graphics and all the rest with enough attention to detail. The story pretty much goes like this, and it's not all that long. About 8 hours if you take your time to play through to the credits. Peach and a couple of Toads go on a vacation to the new Sparkle Theater to relax and see some stage performances. Opening night comes around and it's all thwarted by Grape and the Sour Bunch's attempt to take over the theater and ruin everyone's fun. Grape captures all the lead actors, the Sparklers, and the Sour Bunch starts to terrorize each of the shows on the 20 stages. In all the mayhem, Peach meets Stella, the sparkle magic fairy, and very obvious anime girl companion stand-in, and the duo begin looking in on the shows and ending up in them. Using the sparkle power that they find on each stage, Stella is able to magical girl transform Peach into the lead role of the shows and squash the Sour Bunch in each of the shows while working to learn what happened to the Sparklers and freeing them with the sparkle power. Once all 10 Sparklers are free, Peach has enough sparkle power to confront Grape with her new Radiant Peach ensemble and save the day for the theater. All in, it's a cute story with way too many references to the word sparkle, many memorable characters, and a world that fits super well for this game. I'm honestly hoping that this game becomes another continuing spin-off series for the Mario franchise at this point. Speaking of the Mario franchise, I want to take some time to talk about all the other spin-offs of that series and how I can't believe that this is the first time we're getting a real true spin-off for Princess Peach. Starting from the top with Mario RPG, which just got a remake in the last year, and Paper Mario, which could be called the successor to Mario RPG, but I'm not going to make that claim here, as well as its GameCube iteration getting a remaster and port to the Switch in 2024, Mario himself has had a successful run of games outside of the standard platforming, both 2D and 3D. That's even before you count Dr. Mario, Mario Kart, Mario Party, and so many others. Donkey Kong had a run of platformers as well on his own, and a series of rhythm games and a few other genres for his side characters. Wario has been a crazy capitalist shipping his games for over 20 years now with the WarioWare series. Yoshi has been a staple for platforming in his own way and adding oddball mechanics and ideas each time. Toad even has his time tracking treasure and popping up in other Mario-centric games with the same role. And last but not least, we get the two biggest deal characters besides Mario himself, the girl he keeps having to save, and his brother with just as wacky powers. Each of them finally got their own games, with Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube, a wild, completely out of left field choice that took fans by surprise at least, and angered many at most during the launch of that console. That game has since become a franchise that has grown and become successful in its own right. So why the hell did it take so long for Peach? I really hope that this is the next game to become a mainstay in the Mario universe, as well as more games in the series to come. Now look, no matter how much this game shook my beliefs and made me feel like a kid again, every game's got issues. There were just some things that my adult game reviewer brain wouldn't let me get away from. While not having a ton of issues like many other games I've reviewed in the last year, there were a couple sticking points that have to be addressed. Overall, the graphical performance and optimization was pretty good, but when it started to drag, you could tell, and it takes you out of this super immersed feeling very quickly if you're sensitive to it. The controls for some of the stages weren't the best, and the gameplay overall for at least one of the stages, in my opinion, left a lot to be desired. Actually, some of the game types were just vastly better than others, and I would have liked it if the game was a more cohesive level with all of its points, if it's going to keep taking that leap to make each thing so different. My biggest gripe, though, has got to be with the game itself, and that is that it's very short. Now, it wasn't a full-price game, so I have less of a problem with it overall, but still I was hoping for more non-reused content before the credits rolled. Still though, what I got was a lot of fun, and I really couldn't put it down with one of my sessions of this game streaming went for just under 6 hours of that 8-hour playtime. All in, this game was really fun, start to finish. Simple as that. It had variety, player choice for when to tackle certain shows, the classic collection of a Mario franchise game, all while giving Peach the spotlight for the first time in 20 years, and not just pandering to your super young female demographic the whole time. Don't get me wrong, it's obviously targeted, but I was able to find a lot of things to like about this game. Much like I said in the intro and during the franchise spin-off section, I hope Nintendo keeps taking chances like this and gives opportunities to side characters to shine. Who knows? Maybe your favorite Mario franchise character will be next on Nintendo's list.